Hello, and welcome back to Real Life in Japan, where we look at the everyday, day-to-day life of living in Japan, the things Japanese people do, the things they use, and how they live their ordinary, regular lives. It's not about the crazy, look at this media angle of Japan being a high-tech, crazy country. A lot of it isn't. A lot of it is quite like most places. But here we're going to find some interesting things that are not often spoken about. Living in Japan. And today it's insects. Insects. Now, some people have a bit of a phobia about insects. Me, I'm not that particularly bothered. But in Japan, they are more of a significant part of day-to-day life than, say, in England, where I'm from. Insects in Japan, there are far more insects. That's one thing. They're far more frequent. There are more varieties, it seems, and there are more significant numbers of them in summer. They're also a lot bigger than UK insects. Generally, bees and spiders, you get much larger sizes in Japan than you would in Northern Europe. And there's a lot more, as I say, variety. I often see things that I've never seen before. I've been here 10 years and I still see insects every summer and think, what's that? I've never seen that before. That looks a bit scary. Some insects are poisonous, so as a general rule, Japanese people just tend to keep away from them. But there is a hobby in Japan, which I'll talk about later, which you do see small boys, usually, not always, but usually, with their grandfathers collecting insects as a summer activity. Now, Japan isn't a jungle. A lot of people have the impression that the countryside in Japan is a kind of jungle, a tropical jungle. It is incredibly hot in summer and incredibly humid, but it's more of a forest. The countryside in Japan is more like a forest with a little bit of bamboo mixed in, but it does basically remind me of forests in England. My garden in the summer, I usually go out at night sometimes just to have a relaxing time. And in summer, you get a definite feeling of things moving all around you. It's a kind of creepiness, and you hear little things happening and little insect activities. My garden is full of insects in summer, and it's a very small garden, but it still attracts a lot of insects. Now then, let's talk about some of the most common insects you will see in Japan, and also you may get in your house, because it does happen a lot. And here we've got centipedes and millipedes. I've had a few in my house over the years. They do have special products for these to try and deter them from coming into your house. Whether they're poisonous, I'm not sure. I've never got close enough to them to find out. But they're not enormous. They're about this big, the ones I've seen in my house. Let's have a look at the next card. Flies. There are a lot of flies in summer in Japan. Not insane amounts, but they are around, and the variety of size is quite impressive. Bees, hornets and bees. I have seen hornets. I have had to deal with hornets with a special spray, but also bees. Bees are very common in Japan. Beehives, the ball-shaped beehives that you see. Because there are a lot of abandoned houses in Japan, bees tend to start to make a beehive, or a bee's nest, should I say, a bee's nest in these abandoned houses. And opposite my house is an old abandoned house. I live in a city, but there are a lot of abandoned houses in Japan, which is something else I will talk about in the future. But bees every summer always start making a beehive. Looks like a soccer ball, like a yellow soccer ball when it's finished in the abandoned houses. And I've had to deal with bees quite a bit with special bee spray that kills off bees and destroys their nests. Sometimes the local government will come round and deal with a bee nest in an abandoned house if you give them a call. Hornets, again, bees, you tend to stay away. Hornets, stay away if you can. Japanese people, don't get involved. They just get on with life as you would. Next one. Aha! This is a big one. This is a big one. Cockroaches. The UK, I never saw a cockroach in my entire life. I'd never seen one at all. In Japan, they are very, very common. And there are two kinds in Japan. I think it's the German cockroach, which is this shape. It's kind of like finger shape. And also an Asian cockroach, which is more of a rounded shape. And you get cockroaches a lot in Japan in summer. They're just outside in your garden, in parks you see them living in their natural environment. But they do want to get in your house. They want to get in your house mostly for water. And Japanese people, this is a part of everyday life in summer. The cockroach season starts and they take precautions, which I'll talk about in a moment. And the other public enemy number one for me is mosquitoes. Mosquitoes. You can hear them buzzing past your ears in summer. And they also love to bite me. Apparently I'm particularly tasty because in summer I'm covered in mosquito bites. And they're a constant problem. Around about early evening, they're out and about the most. And if you're near water, there are incredible amounts of mosquitoes flying around. Now, how do you deal with mosquitoes? Well, once you've been bitten, my favorite product for sale in Japan is Anpan stickers. And they're called Anpan because he's a popular children's character. And they're really designed for children because mosquito bites are itchy. Oh, itchy. Again, in the UK, we have no mosquitoes. So it's a new world. It's a new country. Literally. For someone like me, anyway. Mosquito bites. Any particular day in summer, I've got at least half a dozen bites. And at least half a dozen of these all over my body. Your face, your hands, anywhere that's exposed. Even repellents like this. They work, but not 100%. If you don't cover a particular part of your body, if you miss your ear, you'll get bites on your ears just because there are so many mosquitoes in Japan. Now, what do Japanese people do to fight the plagues of insects? Well, with regard to mosquitoes, this device is a kind of incense burner and it comes in a coil shape. So the incense is a stick, but it's a coil stick and you put it inside. I won't bother opening it. You put it inside, it's full of ash. Put it inside and burn it and the smoke and the smell of this product keeps mosquitoes away. So when you go to someone's house in summer, they will often have one of these burning outside their front door to ward off the dreaded mosquitoes. Yes. I don't actually like using these because I don't like the smell. Keeps me away as well, this kind of product. But that's one thing that you will see a lot of in Japan in summer. These smoking away outside people's doors or cafes or shops, smaller shops. Also, there is a version of this which hooks on your belt. And a lot of outside workers, garden workers, park workers, builders, they often have one of these attached to their waist belt, smoking away, just to ward off the billions of mosquitoes that appear in Japan in summer. Over to, quickly, snakes. Snakes, not insects, but snakes. I have seen a snake in Japan. I have seen one snake. I went to a park and under a bush, I saw a big brown snake. It was asleep in the daytime and I stayed away, obviously. as you do, but I have seen one snake. I've asked most Japanese people if they've seen a snake, and the majority say, no, I've never seen one. But again, I live in a big city. I live in a big city in the center of Japan, but I've still seen snakes. Now, back to cockroaches. Cockroaches. I'm not afraid of insects, but I just don't like the idea. The number of cockroaches in Japan is quite astounding in summer. There are various products Japanese people use. These are bug bombs. This is the aerosol kind. It's an aerosol can, and you pierce the lid with this little some people do it with their foot, and it basically all comes out in one go rather than squirty. It just goes for about 30 seconds. I don't use these in my house. I use them under my house. There are air bricks under my house, and what I tend to do is put them against the air brick, set them off, and the poison, the repellent, fills the underneath of my house. Cockroaches are always attracted to water. They need water far more than they need food. And next to my house is a natural spring, crazily enough. A natural spring. Japan's full of natural springs. There's one right next to my house, and it attracts them all the time. But for insects in general, all insects, mosquitoes, bees, flies, centipedes, millipedes, I recommend 100% wholeheartedly this product, which you will see in every Japanese supermarket. The aisles in Japanese supermarkets of repellents and devices to kill insects and keep them away. There are quite large sections in every Japanese supermarket because it is a problem in summer. This stuff is designed for cockroaches. There we go. But it's fantastic. If you have any unwanted guests in your house, which is what I consider insects, I consider them unwanted guests. I don't have a problem with insects outside my house in Japan, but I do have a problem with them inside. But this stuff is great. This pretty much gets rid of everything. If you can squirt it on it, it's pretty much done for within a few seconds. Cockroaches are incredibly fast in Japan. So what I tend to do with cockroaches is if the cockroach is here and it's facing this way, I don't spray the cockroach because it will immediately run and you may miss. I spray in front of the cockroach, the direction that it's moving, and that means it passes through the mist of cockroach poison rather than being able to turn around and run the other way. I get it before it can escape. Fantastic stuff. I always use it. Now, I mentioned earlier, hobby, collecting insects. In summer, collecting insects seems to be a kind of hobby for mostly young Japanese boys, grandparents often accompanying them, and you see them looking around bushes and trees, and they are equipped with these nets, with insect nets for catching insects. So you often see a little boy running around Japan, not in the countryside, in the cities, just looking around parks and things, and they're catching various kinds of insects, usually the more unusual ones. They want to find something a bit different, and they keep them, when they've caught them, in one of these. And this is to put insects in. And this is from the 100 yen store. Pop your insect in there, and you can observe it through the window. So there's a hobby. There's not just a downside to insects. Actually, there is mostly downsides. There's a little activity for children. So there we go, insects. How do Japanese people deal with insects? Well, they're just part of everyday life. Like people in every country in the world, if you've got something that's a nuisance and a problem, you cope with it and it becomes not that significant. But if you come to Japan, like I say, for someone from the UK, the size and amount of insects in Japan is quite surprising. And the things you have to do to deal with them. If I go out in summer, I have to use repellent, even just outside your house, just to move your litter bin, your dustbin. If you don't go out, the mosquitoes will bite you instantly. And go to a park, go out, you have to think about things like this all the time. I do anyway. Have I got some of these? Otherwise the itchiness will drive me crazy, which it does. So that's insects in Japan. To sum up, there are far more, they're far bigger. Some are a little dangerous, best to avoid them. Japanese people, they just cope with the problems. They always avoid snakes. Especially because they're kind of the most dangerous things you can have. Mosquito bites, itchy, annoying. A black fly apparently bit me, the doctor said, and my finger swelled up to about 50% bigger. That was a bit of a nuisance. I've had bees in my hair and things like that just from living in Japan. Life in Japan, the down-to-earth, day-to-day lives of people like me and everyone else in Japan and how we cope with them. Thanks for watching and goodbye.